Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with our second episode of the podcast, the GOA pod, the greatest of all. Yeah, I'll get used to saying that. Sounds kind of cringe fest, and it probably will continue to, but that's okay. That's genuine. It's my name, and we're gonna keep it that way. And if you don't like it, unfortunately, it's probably not gonna change. So you'll come around, most likely, and if not, whatever. Anyway, we are here with our second episode. And for this one, I want to talk about a few different things. Um, like I said, going into this podcast, as I get further, I like to get good enough to where I can just kind of rant and spew and be efficient in doing so and not kind of go off a cheat sheet and sound boring. But getting a little bit of feedback from my first one, as far as just me kind of going over it myself. I talk like an idiot, really bad, I think. Not talking fluently, saying like a lot, and I noticed I was saying right, like getting you to agree with me. Um, I'm not having a conversation like directly to you guys, so it sounds a little weird to say right every time. And I would say like so many times. So that was really annoying for me to listen to, especially when you're trying to make clips and things. It's really hard to hear that. And it's just like, especially with me, just I point that out to myself. So today we're going to try our best to not continuously say those kind of improper things, right? See, I just did it. God damn it. Anyway, with practice will come perfection. So don't be too mad at me. You're not the ones being put on a pedestal right now, right? Damn it, I did it again. Whatever. We'll get better at it. So this podcast, this episode is why do people suck? And before 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 you get all, defensive, um I'm a person. I'm one of these people, and I would count towards the suckiness of said people. And what I mean by this is everyone, as humans, we have our flaws, right? Damn it, I did it again. As humans, we have our flaws: ego, pride, um attention seeking, lunatics, money hungry, things like that. And it leads a lot of people to think like why people suck, you know, reflecting on who you want to surround yourself with, positive people, thinking things like that. And yeah, I'm sure there's 80,000 books on look out for these psychopaths. Um 10 ways to find out someone's narcissistic, bullshit like that, right? And there's tons of books, right? You got these authors just making money. They think they're Gandhi of the new generation, just spewing wisdom, and just got cronies buying books and listening. Whatever, getting off topic. But point is, I think in this day and age, like we spewed about podcasts, more mainstream, people are more aware. But there's still dickheads out there, right? There's still people that suck, people that are insufferable, manipulative, just downright selfish. There's plenty of people like that. And like we keep coming across it and it keeps being an issue. So this isn't really an episode to talk about how to fix it because I have fucking no idea. I haven't studied in this for 20 years at Stanford or something like that, so I have no idea. But we might as well talk about it, right? And kind of break down why people do it and what's the most common things of why people suck fucking munch bags. So, humans, yeah, we have a lot of flaws, right? We're egotistical. We're materialistic. We pride ourselves over other people, to make ourselves feel better. We bully, just rude. A lot of negatives, right? But there are positives. And a couple of these topics, they do have positive aspects to reflect on, and a lot of them are negative. So, like we're talking about here, it's like realizing it to start off, that helps you see the good and the bad and differentiate and then move forward. So, if you're going to be a complete total douchebag, you might as well know that you're doing it, right? So, this is going to try to help you probably find that out and stop being it, hopefully. But hey, I don't tell you how to cook your eggs, man. So, if you want to scramble that shit and be a dickhead for all eternity, you do it. But you might as well be aware. So, let's jump into it. First kind of part of this, I jotted down. I wrote different topics. And yeah, I looked into it a little bit. Yeah, I'm a nerd. Yeah, I prepared for my podcast. Sorry. Sorry, I want this to be good. But the first part I wrote down is context. So, context and just dealing with people overall, it's a big thing. And of course, these things I'm going to talk about, that comes from experience for myself of dealing with people, different kinds, different things, and just dealing with myself too, because I'm no Prince Charming of perfectness. First part's context. What I mean by that is, for us as people, along with ego, we're quick to judge people, right? You hear someone, and this is just all the time. Everything, if you could think about it. All the time we make quick judgments, not knowing the whole spiel of things, the whole context, the layout. And you just jump to make those decisions based on what you've previously experienced and just your overall thought process, right? The way you're made up, the ideals you have, and just you're set on those, right? And us as people, as you get certain ideas and like principles and morals and stuff like that, you're going to kind of get married to those ideas, right? You're going to get married to that form of who you're supposed to be, yada, yada, yada. I'm spewing. You get it. You get the picture. So, a lot of that comes with us having that preset notion of thinking how we do, having our certain biases, likes, etc. And because of those, you're just quick to judge right off the bat. And without context, without nothing, you just make that assumption, and most likely that's wrong. Yeah, you have your premonitions or your gut feeling. Cool. I have that too. Awesome. That makes you feel cool and tough and hard, right? Yeah, that's my gut feeling and I was right. Huh. Man, that's seems like BS when you try to like break it down and feel it, right? Like, oh, it's in my gut. Like when you say it, yeah, it sounds cool as shit, and you sound like the toughest son of a bitch you've ever heard. But it's kind of cornball and really doesn't make sense if you sit there and analyze it. So, as context matters, say, this is all the time, right? Say, two kids get in a fight at school, and it's Jimmy and Timmy. Yeah, I know, real original on the names, right? Jimmy and Timmy get in a scuffle at recess, right? One threw a rock at the other. The other threw salt in his nachos, and then Jimmy, had relations with his sister. Whatever. The normal kid stuff. Say that happens, and they get in a fight. The teacher catches them, and they go to the principal's office, right? Principal's there. He goes, okay. What happened? Well, Jimmy's gonna be like, well, Timmy's a fucking cunt, and he fucked over my sister, so I had to beat the brakes off of him and do justice for Samantha. I don't know, man. So he says that, right? But then, did I say Jimmy or Timmy already? I don't know. Say, okay, the other kid, Timmy. I don't know. I can't remember, sorry. Say Timmy says, well, no, like, he was just mad that I shit in his nachos, and he just started fist fighting me. So, like, dude, what's your problem? I just fought back, right? So, what I just said, there are two different answers, two different scenarios. But as a principal, you need to like be, unbiased, or as a judge or whatever, example you want to make, you need to have not have bias, right? Unbiased. But if you're hearing one part of the story, it's gonna sound really different, and that was the point. Is there's two different stories, so when there's always gonna be two different sides to a story, because people, I don't know what it is, and this is just like from history. Is people just make they just spin stories, talk about things that you want your own spin on it, right? You want to sound cool. Say you have a story and you're talking to your friends. Well, they're taking their time to listen to you and you're giving this cool story, right? All the attention's on you, right? Yeah, you're fucking awesome and you're known for telling great stories. So, you're talking about maybe a rude customer you had and you wanted to throw a joke in there. And you're like, "Yeah, I told him fuck you." Did that really happen? Probably not. But because you know your friends like good stories, you might spice it up a little bit and, make things different. So that's a good example of changing things and like word of mouth. If Jessica's going to tell Justina, Chad sucks, well then Justina's going to tell Brittany that Chad is a really fucking big douche. And then Brittany tells Ashley that Chad is gay. I don't know. But as it goes down the chain of command, the story changes, right? And it's like, why? Why do people do that? Well, probably because they want to be cool. Um, they just want to spin it around, make it more juicy. Maybe they didn't like the story just so much. Maybe they wanted to twist it, make it cool, and make it theirs. That, things like that. And it's like, why? Why do that? So with context, it's very important as like looking on the outside to understand that. If someone comes up and tells you something and it might be controversial or have to deal with another person, like a consequence, it's important to sit there and go, okay, well, I need to think about this because if it's going to affect someone else, you kind of need to hear the other side, right? Unless you have all the evidence in front of you set there and it's like without a doubt, then maybe you can make your assumption right away, but you should still, you know, listen to both sides and be able to get the context because the other side might be totally different. And a person might lie to get themselves out of bullshit. Or they not might, they probably will, right? Like everyone wants to make themselves sound better when talking about themselves. No one wants to sit there and intentionally bash themselves or intentionally like guilt themselves. Realistically, no one's going to do that. No one's morally, brave enough or whatever to tell the truth as it is and put themselves in a darker light. Most people won't do that. So they're going to spin it. And that's as now, really, that's how history has been. Like for the Bible, for example. Not trying to get religious, so don't sue me. Religion, like the stories in the Bible, like they used to be word of mouth for years before it got written down. Well, you could think that stories have, someone while they wrote it down, it had to change since then, right? If these are just oral, like oral stories throughout all time, and then you just decide writing it down, well, it's got to be different. And that's the same thing as just people with us. We're just gonna make it different. Why? And it's probably an ego thing, which we'll get more into ego later. But like I said, you want to feel better about yourself. You want to, be the light of the story, kind of things like that. And without context, my point is when you're judging or you're making decisions, like you need context because then that's where the negatives come in and it just gets really wonky, right? Then it's an unconscious bias where you're automatically thinking like that's, I hate to talk about it, but that's where racism or inequality comes in. Like you come in and you say you're interviewing someone and it's I don't know, person of color. Well, you might automatically think like, oh, they're cheap, whatever. I'm not specifying because I don't want to get canceled for making example that's not true because I'm not indicating that. But that happens, right? It's 2024. We gotta tread lightly. I don't want to get canceled already, right? So that's like what not having context will lead to is these judge decisions. Like you're already thinking it, like based on maybe previous experience, but like you hear a certain sound, like maybe a gong goes off, and one time that happened, you shit your pants. So you have PTSD. So every time you hear a gong, your bowel movement almost fucking slips out, and then you're heading for the toilet, right? Something like that. So that would be like, that would be like a reaction to it. That's more PTSD. Sorry, I guess that's a bad example, but hopefully you get what I'm saying. Because then that's just an unconscious bias of you, triggering based on that previous experience. And that can lead, as if you had experience with a certain person and it wasn't a good experience, then next time you encounter someone like that, you're unconsciously, judging back to, well, fuck this guy, he made me feel bad. When you don't even know him. It was just like one thing with another person, and now you're just assuming that. That's not fair. Like, why are we doing that as people? And it's a part of us learning and adapting and just like remembering. And part of this is good, right? If you live, your parents are narcissistic, right? And you live with that your whole life. Well, if you're smart and you're able to get out of that, hopefully you're going to be able to recognize that in other people and those tendencies. So if you meet someone and you start getting these red flags, and you're like, stay away. No, 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 no. I don't want you. I've had enough of you. Then you can see that. So that's where like the positive thing comes in. And that's what I'm talking about is if you're able to recognize that, then you're able to deflect from it and stay away and learn. So when it comes to context, like, you need to keep an open mind and think rationally. Like, I get caught up in thinking, people taking people like for the best, right? Is thinking they're better, like that they're genuine. But you'll notice, like, as more you get into the world dealing with people, some people just want to be selfish and they just want to take advantage, or maybe they're hiding a certain like motive. That's happened to me, and no, it's not fun because you feel like you got duped. You feel stupid, right? Like, oh, I got gypped by this guy. I really thought he was cool and that they were genuine, but they're not. And yeah, that sucks big ween. But as a person, you're gonna have those instances. But the more you have them, the better you'll be able to understand those and kind of sniff those out and point them out and see. That's what I think. But really, when it comes to context, I guess I've been doing a better. I like to say I'm starting to notice it more, and dealing with people around me. They help me understand that too. That's why talking to people is such a big thing. And this leads to our next thing, which is perspective, right? With that'll like context, you can get context and perspective from just communicating with other people. And that's tremendous. Like, if you're working with coworkers, friends, or I know people have done this all the time. You go and you like ask your friend, maybe you have a new job you're asking about, and you're like, what do you think about this? Should I take it? And they'll tell you. They'll tell you what they think are the positives and the negatives. They'll tell you what they value. And overall, it's it's different. They might have different views from you, or they might have a different answer than what you're expecting. But that doesn't mean it's a bad thing, because it's a different perspective, right? Different point of view from another person. Because this happens all the time too, probably, is you might have a certain idea of things, a certain idea of a job. Let's say you have a certain idea about being a sports analyst. You love sports. That's a big thing for you. You just love doing it. You want to do that really good. But your fandom's kind of taken away from the analytics part of it, of 18 like 12-hour days, you not being able to sleep, being in an office all day, sitting down, things like that. And you might not recognize that. So if you're talking to your friend who's not an avid sports fan like you, they might think more logically about that kind of thing, the kind of down points of it, and that'll help clear your head, right? Because with your own perspective, you'll kind of get stuck, like I said, in this bias where you're thinking, you'll kind of get set in your ways, and you'll be like, oh, cool, I want to do that. And you're not seeing both sides, if that makes sense. So with perspective, that will help out big time. Yeah. Sorry. Brain fart. Kind of dozed off a little bit. Yes, we're bringing into perspective. And I guess you could say with people, why it sucks with perspective, if you're not getting it, is like you're kind of selfish to it, right? If perspective kind of leads into relating with other people, right? Perspective helps you understand another person's point of view, but if you're too selfish, you're not going to see that. Or even if you do see it, you might not care, right? And that's where sociopath tendencies like narcissism come in, and you just don't care. You don't care. And that's not good either. That's why people suck. Is you should have selfishness, because overall you can't be totally 100% unselfish, because then you won't function as a human being. Like, how are you going to eat if your priority is for everyone else to eat in the world? How before you're not going to survive because you can't eat, obviously. So 100% like unselfishness, that's never going to happen in the world. Not, you know, Bob Marley, hold hands, peace. That's not realistic, really. But not being a total dickhead and a selfish cunt will help you see perspective. It'll help you see, oh, my friend's always been there for me, and like I kind of snapped on him, and that wasn't nice. Like maybe I need to open myself up and be there for them, or just ask how they're doing, because they always ask me how I'm doing, and I always dump on them, right? I always dump my feelings on them, and it's always about me, 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 me. But have I tried asking about them? Have I let them open up? Like, if they're your friend, it should be a back and forth, right? A friendship is, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Beneficial to both sides. That's what a friendship is. So if someone's being a friend to you, they're giving you their perspective. Like, you're sharing your ideas, your laughter, things like that. You need to have that. You need to have both sides to that. And that's, if you have an open perspective, you can relate to your friends. You can overall grow as a person. Because like I said, if you're stuck in this like perspective of just you, there's not much for you to grow, because you're going to think of things only your way. That's why like a group, like in science, groups being able to have discussion, group projects, like communicating, that's where we grow as a person, because it's not just one idea. It's not just one set way. It's not one path. If you have multiple coming in, you can reflect ideas. You can, bundle down, figure out what's the best way to go. That's the good thing. That's what you need. And that's how to not be a sucky ducky person, is to have perspective. And another thing that goes into perspective, I came across this word on a TikTok, whatever, TikTok brain rot. But there are some good stuff on there, right? And that helped me get a topic brought onto this. And it's called Sonder realization. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Sonder realization it's called. And I put this under perspective because that, as I've grown as an adult, I'm starting to understand things more as just in life, start to more question things, rightfully so. And I think it's awesome to do that. And if you aren't doing it, it's not, that could open you down a path of questioning things, and then that might turn you into being depressed. Womp womp. Sorry, man. I didn't mean to do that. But if you're not asking these questions, then you're going to be stuck in this little bubble, and you're not going to learn, right? So, Sonder realization, it's like the realization that, so your life, it's difficult, right? Your life has all these intricate things of how your brain works, your daily life of things, what your thoughts are, what you want to do, what your aspirations, the trauma you've had in the past, how you want to grow, laughter, what's your best memories, things like that. All that makes up your life. Sonder realization is understanding that what's happening to you, all these difficult and introspective things, that's happening to everyone. That everyone deals with that. And that's, when you think about that, that's actually fucking nuts. Is all the struggles and things you learn and grow, and things just specifically in your life, because you can only worry, when it comes down to it, you can only worry about yours. And you can only control what's yours too, in a sense. And when you think about that and you step out of that and you kind of look out in the world, that's to every person. Like, that's insane. That's so many people. It's like sitting there in a stadium and just looking, and you see all those people. And I'm sure people have thought about this too, or you have as well. And you think, like, there's no shot ever. There's 15,000 people in the stadium. There is no way each person has their own life and their own complexities and all this, right? It's like, how is there that? It's hard to grasp it and understand that concept that everyone has their own life in simpler terms. Like, if they're leaving that stadium, everyone's going to get in their own car and they're going to drive to their own house, and then they're going to go to their own job in the morning. They're going to have their own breakfast. They're going to have their own thoughts, their own regrets, their own goals. That's crazy, dude. That's fucking crazy. And to think, like, oh, this is a simulation, so it doesn't really matter. But maybe it is a simulation, and I'm getting conspiracy on you. But that's nuts to think that everyone has that. And there's like a capacity in the world to be able to have everyone have their own intricate and complex lives. So I put that with perspective, because if you get that realization of the Sonder realization, whatever, I don't know how to say it correctly. If you start to understand that or even question it, that opens you up to perspective alone. Just thinking 5 seconds of that idea. Like, that's nuts to think about. And everyone has their own thing. So that helps you understand that it's not just you. If you have issues that's going on, if you have your own contemplations, things like that, that helps you understand you're not in it alone. Other people are having the same thing every day. And some people might be ignoring it. Like, if someone is just busy all day, their brain's occupied, they're not going to think of what's out in the stars or what's a random person in Beijing doing right now. Most of the time, they're not going to do that. But some people are. And I think that's a good thing to learn or to do, not to be like, oh, wow, then I really am, I don't mean nothing. I'm so small in this world. And that's where the depression part comes in, whatever. I'm not trying to do that. But it's good for you to think about, because it helps you understand you're not alone, like I said. And like, you have your own thing to do, right? Sorry, I'm blinking again, and I'm kind of losing track. But like, understanding that is nuts. So you're not alone, and you're able to kind of understand that. So if you think about that, like, everyone has their own thing. You're like, what is that? Why am I special? Well, you're special because it's your own experience. It's your own life. Your own life is you doing what you want to do, what you need to do. It doesn't need to matter. And we'll go down this, like, comparing yourself to other people. Well, if they have just this kind of realization and this difficult life and everything, excuse me, what makes me any different? Say someone's like, I just want to cheat and base my life off of Jeff Bezos so I can just make money, right? Well, no. There's obviously only one Jeff Bezos. There's only one Elon Musk. And I'm picking typical people with money, right? But it could be like there's only one Tom Brady. There's only one John Cena. I don't know. But like, yeah, you can look up to those kind of people or those kind of things, but you shouldn't base your life off of it. You shouldn't like try to be like them. You shouldn't, because it's your life. And if you're trying to like be someone else, I see that as like you're trying to run away from yourself at the same time. Like, you don't want to do that. You're kind of cheating your own life by not wanting to be yourself or figure out who you are. And you can have role models and shape your ideals and stuff, but it doesn't mean you have to be exactly like them. Like, you're your own person, right? Like, who are you? Who knows? But you can still be your own person. So that's why I think like that sound of realization, it could have positives, just to think that it's fucking nuts in general, if you think about it. But then the negatives, like, if people are going to look down the negative spot, it's going to be like, well, then what's the point or whatever. Shut up, man. I'm speaking, right? Because these are thoughts I just have in my brain and I'm just spewing them. So that's kind of my idea as I go through this. And are we in a simulation? I don't know. Very well could be. To think about it is nuts as well. Just we'll probably touch that topic in another episode. Is like simulation theory, hearing that and everything just makes your brain want to fucking explode and ooze everywhere and just whatever. But another thing that helps me with perspective is I heard this is we're humans, right? So we all have these feelings, egos, blah blah blah, whatever. But what's one thing? Like one thing for sure we start off as being born, right? If someone was born in a lab, let me know, please, because I have questions for you. But as humans, we were all born once, right? So and we grow, but we start off as an infant, as a baby, and as you're an adult or older, you look at a baby and it's like, oh my god, like that's like it's awesome, right? You get joy, you get happiness just by looking at a baby. It's because they're innocent, they're helpless. Um, they're just cute, like they're just living, right? All the cliches and whatever. But if you take that into dealing with people, that I think that brings a more accepting approach. Is if you're arguing with someone and you're just getting angry, if you take a step back and just think, like, at one point, this person was like 6 months old and like they were being best fed, they were, being taken care of, their diapers changed, and they just were new to the world and just life and all that. They just knew and they're innocent. They don't know anything. They don't know that they got fucked over on taxes, so they're angry and they're shouting about it. They don't know that milk costs $4.99 and it used to be 50 cents 60 years ago. They don't know any of that. They're just there, just like existing, but like in a happy way, like a happy in the future, like they get to experience and grow up and be all these things kind of way. And so if you take that approach and think of someone like this person used to be an innocent little infant at one time, I think that's going to help you understand, like, this person's not the worst in the world. Like, this used to be an innocent person and they were a happy kid, maybe, and all these things. So if you think of that, like, everyone started off at the same point, being little, that helps you understand that, it's not the end of the world if you're getting angry. That's why at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's better to be positive because that's really what life is all about. So I think when I heard that was a really cool thing. Is think if everyone was once a baby, especially if you're in an argument or pissed at them or whatever. They didn't know anything. Like, they had no control. They're just happy existing. And I think that helps me, especially helping myself calm down if I'm still angry or if it's boiling, still stewing with me. That helps me out a bit. So hopefully that might help out for you. As we're going into why people fucking suck bags of dicks. Our next topic is categorization. And this one's probably a little weird. I had a hard time kind of explaining what I meant about this. Now, for categories, that's pretty simple. As a psychological example, us as people, especially when we're growing and learning, when we learn things, you're going to sort them into categories, classifications, groups, whatever you want to call it. That helps us learn, right? So, as people grow, you learn like math. Now, this is just an example. Math has all its things like adding, subtracting, minusing, whatever. So you learn all those things and then you bundle it into a subject called math. So if you're getting quizzed or whatever, go, what do you know about math? Well, then you gotta automatically think of like the basic principles: add, subtract, zero, infinite, whatever, stuff like that. And that goes into science, eating, what kind of foods there are, veggies, meats, what kind of biological mammals, fish, whatever. Saying the wrong things. I'm just whatever top pops off in my head now, and that helps you organize and kind of put things in the back shelf of your brain. So it helps you categorize, and I just said the word whatever. It helps you categorize and like have something in a box up on that shelf, right? So you have it there, and then if it gets called on, if someone asks you about it, you can reach into that up to that shelf and look in that box, and then you could pick out all the things in there, like adding, subtracting, whatever. I think that was a sufficient example for you. Now, what I think of like when categorizing is it's in that aspect of kind of bundling things up and helping you remember. That's the positive thing about it. But a negative would be when you categorize something, it's going to help you remember and put it in a group, but at the same time, you're going to lose those specific details to it, if that makes sense. So, for example, can I think of a good one? Let me try to think. This goes with, man, I really didn't want to bring into this, but like a good example would be like politics, right? And this is why people suck. Because if you don't agree with someone on something, you're automatically left or right. And it's so dumb. It is so stupid. And it's like, it's at that point to where you just fucking scoff. If someone is just talking and they go, oh, what, like, are you left or right? Are you Republican or Democrat? It's like, dude, really? I was having a genuine combo with you, and then you just fucking shit right in front of me, like pants down, just shit. And you ruin the conversation because it fucking stinks now. And you just talk about politics. Dude, why? And that's a great, I think, well, it's a great example, even though it's stupid to talk about. Because if, say, someone someone dyes this is a common one, someone dyes their hair blue, then you're like, oh, they're a lib, they're on the left, they're an extreme left, dude. And that's where that's where context comes in, the like unconscious bias, like stereotype. Someone has blue hair, they're left, or someone has a gun just for safety. I know that's a whole issue in the world. Someone has a gun. Oh, you're so far right. You're an extreme right, dude. Why? Why do we do these things? And it's just you're like prejudging. You're angry, or you're just judgmental. Like you hear something, or someone says like simply they say like they're just talking about like a president, and you're like, oh, well then, oh, so you're liberal, right? And I've genuinely talked to people, or like my friends have talked to people, and they're like, they'll just be talking about someone, and they don't like them, so they're like shit talking, bashing them, and to like justify it, they go, well, she's a lib, so she's liberal. Dude, what? Like, what does that have to do with them? Like, what does that have to do? And that's what I'm talking about. Like, categorizing is, for like, my thing on categorizing is people use it when they don't understand things. So, yes, if you want to, compress, kind of, like, overview something in your mind, like math, you're going to bundle it as that category and just put it off to the side. But then, like I said, you're losing all the specifics of it. And especially if we're not understanding someone or a certain genre, like we're just gonna categorize it with stupid shit. So say me as Gabe, I categorize stuff as stuff like cool stuff that I understand, and then I categorize other stuff as dumb shit, stuff I don't know. So I automatically think it's stupid, right? Because that's me just biasing it because I don't understand it. I think it's dumb. Say that's happening. So say I'm talking to someone and whatever they're just talking to me about, they're talking to me about dogs and how like different things go on with dogs. Maybe I don't understand it. But because I don't understand it, I'm getting frustrated. So I'm like, this is stupid. This is dumb shit. I categorize that. And then I might categorize that person as part of the dumb shit because I didn't understand what they were saying. Is that fair? No, that's not fair at all. That's me being a dummy. That's me being judgmental and rude. So that comes in the same thing with politics. And like I'm saying this because that's a bigger example is if you don't agree with someone, not just their stance on that of like politics, but if you don't accept, like if you don't agree with them, you're gonna think, oh, that person's stupid. Oh, they're a Republican, that's why. And I'm a liberal, so I'm correct. Like, why? Why are you doing that? And sorry, I'm not trying to talk about politics, but it's just, it's such an obvious example. It's hard to ignore it. And I'm not trying to get into it of like what and what. It's just dumb because people marry themselves to their sides and they don't like understand, like, no matter what's happening, they don't think it's wrong. It's just the other side's worse. And there's no justification to explain why or even remotely say what's wrong with their side. It's just, nope, you're wrong. Nope, nope. It's like arguing with a 5-year-old. Nope, nope, nope. There's no point because they're fucking idiots. So, yeah, with categorizing, when I hear that word, I think people use it when they don't understand stuff. And that's when nastiness of like racism, politics, just being angry, shaming people, bullying. Like, people bully because they have their own shit going on and they don't understand how to cope with it. So they're deflecting it off of something else. So you would categorize a bully as someone not knowing something, right? They don't know how to express their feelings other ways, so they inflict their pain on other people. That's how I see it, is if you don't know certain something, like you're going to use a category towards that. That's kind of like the bad part of it, I would say. Our next part is ego. And I also wrote status with this. Status, as I think a fucking Brit calls it. Famous guy, I don't know his name, sorry. But ego and status, like, and this is a word I've learned, and I think it's cool as shit to say, and it makes me sound smart, is hubris. Hubris is kind of like ego, and humans have that. It's no doubt we all have it, right? That's gonna blind your perception to the fucking max, and that might just, yeah, that's gonna hinder your reality when it comes down to it. Like, having a big ass fucking ego, you're gonna think your shit doesn't stink. Like, a common one's like in the gym, ego lifting, right? You want to fucking mog. Well, who doesn't want to mog? But you want to mog and fucking bench 350 pounds. I mean, you probably only bench 225, so you probably shouldn't try to do that. But fuck it, your ego. Like, how hard can it be, right? It's just 2 more plates plus a 5 and a 10. It can't be that hard, right? Other people do it. Like, I'm bigger than them. I can do it. No, that skinny guy can't do it. I'll do it. That's where your ego comes in, and you're fucking stupid because then you're gonna get a hole fucking caved in your chest for trying to do that. And so people do that all the time, and of course you gotta have a little bit of ego, right, to like self-respect yourself and just carry on. You need to be confident in yourself, but confidence is different than ego, and that's a thin line of trying to figure out what's confidence and what's ego. Ego is, I'd say ego is more of putting yourself in danger of get like in touch with reality. Having confidence will help you reach your true potential and be able to do things. But if you're having an ego, like, that's putting yourself higher than what's realistic as far as if it's in a set time. Like, maybe you can bench 350, just not right now because you have not trained enough. You haven't, you're not more experienced with benching 315 as much. So maybe you need to build up to that and it'll take longer. Not saying you can't do it, it's just going to take longer. But the ego in you is like, no, I can do that right now. Like, I've been working hard. I can do it right now. Well, probably not. Or you'll die trying to do it. So that's what ego does, is it expands your perception of what you can do, but it's not reality. And the common saying, like, pride goeth before the fall. Yeah, like, people don't want to, like, admit they're wrong or admit to failure. Like, they think they can do it, and rightfully so. You should never think you can't do something until you, like, can't do it, but you'll be able to achieve something. It just takes time, and, like, I just think so many people have it, and how things are with social media and, like, so being so easy to just open your screen and, like, see someone with a Bugatti or something. You're like, "Oh, dude, like, I wanna be that," and then they're sitting there talking like, "Yeah, yeah, I did this. I have this much money," and, like, that's where status comes in too, is you like, with social media, you're able to see that, and you're like, "Oh, I have this much money, so I'm successful." You only have what? You only have 20K? Oh, then you're poor, so you're worthless. Like, what? That doesn't that doesn't define me. Like, capitalism is just such a stupid. It's our world we live in, so it's a blessing because you can have opportunity, but that's not the whole purpose of a person, of a human being, right? That wasn't the purpose of them 13,000 years ago. It wasn't a purpose 2,000 years ago, right? So, like, why is that a purpose now for you to just have all the money in the world? It doesn't really make sense. Like, money doesn't. It. I think it can buy happiness to a certain extent, but it's not going to buy your true happiness. Because at the end, like, you can't take money with you, and you're going to look back, and there might be things you don't like. But, like, why does it matter if you have more money than someone else, or you have better clothes than someone else, or you have a better car, or better house, or you're materialistic, or you look better than them? Like, you think you're hotter, you think you're skinnier, you think you're more muscular. Like, why does that matter? Like, if you being muscular makes yourself feel good, then good. Like, if it's beneficial to you and healthy, bravo, man, keep doing it. But if you're in it to just make people feel like shit or to compare yourself and, like, belittle someone else, what's wrong with you, man? Don't be a schmuck. Don't be a schmuck. That's just not cool. And I think we do this as, like, a status thing is to feel accepted. Like, it's a trend. Oh, everyone sags their pants, so if I do it too, they'll accept me and I'll be hard as fuck. And I'll smoke weed and I'll be awesome. Like, okay. That's whatever. Like, you're doing this, like, for status, to get a connection with people, to be, like, part of this group, like, to be like the wealthy 1%. Oh, well, you need to have this much money. Um, if you want to be part of our club, you need to be at least, like, under 20% body fat. Like, there's, like, stipulations to things and just, like, certain status to be, like, part of this group. And then if you're a part of this group, you'll get accepted and you'll have friends and you'll be cool and everything like that. Everyone has their cliques and stuff like that, yeah. But to sit there and, like, just the negative aspect of just having status, like, that's so fucking bullshit. Because, like, that's not the intent of, like, us as people. Your intent's not to have more money than someone else and flex on them, or just have a cooler piece of wool on them. Like, that's what it comes down to. Like, oh, dude, my jeans look better than yours, dude. It's fucking cloth. Grow up. Like, seriously, like, grow up. Go read a book or something. That's so stupid. Go read a book. Or, the best part's, like, my shoes were like, my sunglasses were $2,000. Like, those are, you got at, like, Target. Dude, what? They, like, it's, the purpose is to, like, block my eyes out from the sun. Like, why does it matter how much I spent on them? That concept is so dumb. And, like, for brands and stuff, it just makes me want to fucking shit my pants and just wipe it on someone. It is so stupid. And I think that's the worst one, is just egotistical, like, having higher status. Because with status, like, overall, you're just, like, comparing yourself to people. And that's not a great way to do things. Like, comparing yourself to your friends or family, things like that. Like, that drives competition, like, competition towards things like sports, being successful. That's good, but in terms of being higher than someone just for like selfish reasons of just feeling better than them, like negatively. That's not that's not it, man. That is not it. It's fucking dumb. So dumb. So, I mean, yeah, I kind of blabbed a lot, to be honest. And maybe you guys agree, maybe you don't. But overall, I went all over these things like context, perspective, ego, status, categories, whatever. So I'm saying all these things. So you're like, Gabe, what's your fucking point? Like, people suck, including me, because I guarantee I've done all these things. But my point is to share those because it seems like a problem, right? To sit there and like you'll talk with someone and if you talk to someone and they'll be like, yeah, I can see how that's an issue. And then they just go pick their nose and itch their butt and they don't care. Why? Why? Like, why can't people care? Why can't we talk about this and not get triggered and feel attacked? Why can't we talk about it and at least understand it so we can move forward in some way and progress? So, my point of this is like, yeah, we suck as people and we're never going to be perfect. So, even if we take away these concepts and are able to understand them, you're going to think, well, what can we do with them? I'm not sure. I don't have the answer for that. But to be aware of it, that's a good start. It's a really good start. And people are never going to be perfect. So you're not going to be able to fix these out of everyone because everyone's different. Everyone has their own, what makes them them. That's sound of realization. Bop, 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 bop. So everyone has their own thing. Like no one's going to ever be perfect. That's like the game of life is to aim to be your best person, right? But you're never going to be perfect, right? Because everyone has their own ideas, what their own goals are to do, whatever. But you're thinking, why do we have these flaws as people? Is it a religion thing? Like, did God make us this way so we could learn and form our best versions of ourselves? Because that's his purpose, is to make us a better person overall. Isn't our purpose overall to just evolve as human and get to the next level of transcendence? I don't know. Is it to have like like 100% certainty that we're able to accomplish all these things, understand, and just be like have all the knowledge ever? Or is it just to be able to like accept, to just sit here and have these flaws and as people just accept that and just keep going forward and keep like destroying and things like that? I don't know. I don't have the answer. I don't know the typical reasons. I just know like they're there and people go through them all the time. And it's good to know about it at least because then you're able to do something about it instead of just not knowing what you're doing and it, hindering everyone and just dog shitting on people nonstop. Because we can't do that as people. That's not the goal. If you're hurting, like, talk to someone. If you have these tendencies, figure them out and work to not have those tendencies. Like we deserve to evolve and be better as people. And the first part's just recognizing that. So this silly spew I just went with you about it, you might have taken some things that you might have not heard before. I hope so. And next time you're talking with someone, maybe you'd be here like, oh, they don't, maybe they're being biased. They're categorizing something, whatever. If that happens to even one person, I'm glad. But it's doing an injustice of sitting here, like knowing there's a problem or unknowingly there's a problem and not doing anything about it. So the first step is understanding and hopefully go from there. But yeah, that's my spiel. So anyone watching, I appreciate you. I don't have an outro, so maybe I will eventually make music, whatever. But yeah, until next time, I appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you next time. Bye, everyone.